everyone. My name is Hannah Bothner, and I am the short film program director for Tallgrass Film Festival. Today, I am here with Corey Clifford and Ryan Lagod from, they are the writers and directors of the film Bossbabes. Hello, Bossbabes. Welcome. First off, I want to get into what inspired you to make this film. What inspired you to delve into this world of multi-level marketing that seems to be all around us these days?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of embarrassing, but I was in one out here in, we're both based in Los Angeles, and I was approached and kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I was hypnotized by it a bit. And very quickly kind of realized like, oh no, I think this might be a cult. I don't know. So I got out of it pretty quickly. But Ryan and I have been creative partners for a long time. And we were kind of trying to think of what our next project was going to be. And I pitched him this idea, and then we just kind of ran from it from there.
And where did the making it kind of like a dark comedy come from? Is that the realm you guys just work in a lot, or was it specifically you thought that this subject would lend well towards it?
We definitely do work in that world of like darker comedies, or just real kind of comedies, like real life comedies. And I think there's no like darker place that looks bright and cheery than an MLM, right? Where, because like the truth of them is that 99% of these people are losing money every single day, and it's like ruining lives. And you know, there's plenty of docs, and like we listened to a lot of podcasts before we did this too, and you kind of think, you know, like, oh yeah, pyramid schemes are bad, that's dumb, you'd never get in that. And then you can just get swept away in it, but you just watch how many people are just destroyed. But it's also still like comical when you think about it, right? Like, who knew face care was going to destroy the country? I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about it, like it all starting from essentially Tupperware and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny to think about these ladies with their Tupperware parties, and then now here we are, that kind of thing. So
yeah, and it's so interesting since we've made the film. I feel like it's like very much in the zeitgeist right now. Like it's kind of like exploded of people starting to realize like, oh, these are not good.
Yeah, that Lula Rich documentary.
Yeah, it's crazy. That was crazy to watch for us too, because it was like, wow, our short that we thought, you know, that we were like kind of blowing out the world. We're like, this isn't even as crazy as we thought.
And it definitely is in the zeitgeist. I had a short last year that was about MLMs last too, but I don't think I've seen one before that anything to do with MLMs. So yeah, it's what we're talking about now. Speaking of research and watching things, how much research did you guys do into MLMs? And was there a really, really interesting story that caught your attention while you were doing that research?
Well, a lot of it did come from my experience of the skincare version of it out here. One of the leads of the film, Jenna Doolittle, we had both been in it together. So we were kind of like going back and forth. Like I was interviewing her about like, okay, what was kind of like your experience? And then Ryan and I really just deep dived into the dark parts of the internet to find things. And we listened to a lot of podcasts, like Ryan had mentioned about it, and just kind of tried to find as many stories. And there's so like on YouTube and stuff, if you just type in a name of an MLM, and you can find a lot of their commercials for their product. We kind of based a lot of like our whole dance scene was kind of like our version of a commercial that we had seen for these products. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like there's no one story in particular. It's just kind of a blend of like, this is more the reality of what MLMs do than the glitz and glamour and the Lexuses that you see.
So I want to get a little bit more into the film. This is in the horror and bloody section because there is just a wild fight in there that was some of like the craziest stunt and fight choreography I think I've ever seen, and was so good and fun and wild in this otherwise slightly less intense short.
Yeah.
Can you talk about shooting that scene, about the fight choreography, working with the actresses?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had rehearsed that scene before. Our DPs, Jack and Justin, have worked on a lot of horror kind of fight shows before. And so we did a full rehearsal, like we took an iPhone and we just did the exact scenes with our actresses and went through the house, kind of slow-mo version of how we were going to do it. Like the head bashing scene
Uh-huh.
is actually like a doll head that we just
Oh,
like a
okay,
styrofoam
cool.
head that we put a wig on, and kind of trying to figure out how to do all the camera
Uh-huh.
tricks. And then we showed our actresses that, and then we kind of just went for it on the day.
I will say one of the things, Corey is one of the actresses in the fight scene.
Oh, yeah,
and on the day we built a table out of cardboard boxes.
Uh-huh.
And Jack, our DP, was like, I think like Corey could slam through this. And it's one of the like perks of having your writer director also be the lead, because you're like, this could go terribly, but you're cool with it, right? And she's like, yeah.
Myself.
And so that first scene is Corey just in the fight. When you see it, or if you've already seen it, it's her flying. She literally threw herself into the air and just slammed right onto the ground because we couldn't put any pads or anything there. Just not great, but she was awesome. So.
It's indie filmmaking at its finest, right there.
What was that like, actually being in this fight? Was it scary, intense?
It was, but I was also like, we were on a time crunch and things too. So Ryan and I are both actors, so we like act and direct ourselves a lot. But Ryan was very, very much like, I couldn't see. I was like, you're the eyes, so just tell me if it's good. And just kind of had to go full throttle, because I was like, we probably have like one take of me. Yeah. It's gonna take so much time if we have to set up the table. So I think in that ways it was good, because the pressure was on in a way that I was like, I'm gonna get it right the first time.
For sure. One of my favorite things about the film is this juxtaposition of this like bright, cheery world, the essentially like the highs of the MLM, like when you're in the thick of it and you're like, you're still believing in it, versus when you're at the lows of it, and then it's much more dark and sinister. And you really capture those two moods really well, both with through the camera and through the score and everything like that. Can you talk about finding those two moods and creating them?
Yeah, I think one of them was that we talk a lot about is like group think, and how the more people, like a person is smart, people in a mass group can be stupid at times. And so if you see like in the short, we always tried when it was like dark and individual, and the reality of it, there's no more than 2 people there at any given time, 3 at the very end, right? But when it's bright and cheery, even though it seems like something that might not be good, there's a lot of people. And so they all have that, it's that group kind of mindset where it's like, no, one person said this is good. It must, then the second person's like, oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. I'm not even gonna look. It's good. Like, it's that kind of thing. But when it's just down to you, you're like, wait, this isn't good. So we tried to use that, but I'll let Corey talk more about what we did visually.
Yeah, that for sure. And we kind of like knew from the beginning that we wanted, because the whole movie is all women in it, and we wanted to really play with pinks. We're like that, you kind of say we're really inspired by that. So playing with like how pink can be like girly and pretty, and then it can also be like really dark and sinister feeling. And we a lot of the stuff that we've made before has been a bit kind of simpler, sort of like we've done like a lot of web series and stuff. So we wanted to really focus on being a bit more cinematic with this. So the lighting and talking with our DPs was a very big part of the visual presentation we wanted to give, down to like our costumes and everything too. We wanted everything to really pop, so you're kind of thrown by the fight scene when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm deeply fascinated by MLMs, and I think the world is right now too, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Why do you think we're so fascinated by it? It seems like there's 2 groups of people. It's people who and sometimes those people can both be like within, can be the ones that get sucked up into these worlds, but then can also be the ones that are like fascinated by them at different points in their life. Why do you think it is that we're so fascinated by this world?
I feel like a lot of it is that it's people searching for like community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's who they kind of like suck on first a bit, you know, like the vampires of it. And so it's like you kind of, I feel like the interest is like when you watch like the first episode of like Lula Rich or something, it's like you kind of get it a little bit of like, oh, that seems, yeah, like why wouldn't you want to get rich fast and all of these things in this community? And now you have women supporting women. That's like a big thing of a lot of these, I feel like, is it's like, you're a boss babe, you're supporting other women. Like, this is amazing. This is the sense of community you've been looking for. And then when it turns, you kind of don't know what to do, I feel like, when you're in it. And then watching it, I don't know. I just find that so fascinating, is the sense of community that they're really trying to sell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's so big on the community, and it's just, I think that they touch into the idea that life is hard. So they go for people like Corey's saying that are struggling or trying to find themselves, or things haven't gone their way, and it's like, hey, here with a little bit of money, you can have the life that you want, or you can start to make a change in your life. And everyone's like, for a couple $100, or even like in some cases thousands, I guess, they're like, no, that's worth it. Like I'm miserable right now, or just not happy, or not even like that low, just like I'm looking for a little bit of a change. And so they can kind of feast on that feeling. And like Corey said, I think once you're in and you've made that choice, you're like, well, I don't want to admit this was stupid. I don't want to admit I'm failing. I don't want to let down the people that I'm friends with. These people now, I have to see them every day. We're in a small community in a lot of situations, right? So I think all those play into it. If they just can get you at the right time, like a lot of people are stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also so weird to think about how long things like this have been going on, because Tupperware's been around since the 50s, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something a little,
it was like, whoa, I didn't realize how long it's been happening.
Though when I think back on it, like Mary Kay, Avon, Tupperware, all three of those have been around for a long time. They always seemed a little bit less sinister, so maybe they were, or maybe it was just I was young and didn't like was a kid. But yeah, it's so fascinating how this whole like the MLM market has grown.
Right.
Well, how they became legal. Like they are pyramid schemes. They're not multi-level marketing. They're straight up pyramid scheme. But they're like, in one of the podcasts we listened to, it's just like with it through government, and it got, passed, and someone like figured out a loophole and then got it to go through and everything. And then they're like, oh no, as long as they're called MLMs, you can do the exact same thing that pyramid schemes do.
Yeah.
Get away with it.
And then, I mean, the name of your short, Bossbabes, huge thing throughout, and you mentioned it earlier. It's how dare you question me because I'm a woman and I own a small business, and
the language behind MLMs is just so interesting and creepy and weird.
But also enticing, right? Like that sounds awesome. Like have your own business, make some money, help your family. I mean, they sell things that like are the American dream, right? Or anyone's dream, really, I think. But then it's like, that's not true. Only the top 5 with that. And
the be your own boss type of thing.
Yeah.
And make money from home, and a lot of broken promises there.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you want people to take away from your film the most? There's definitely a little bit of a message here, even if it's a little bit of a comedic look into it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of laughed about this recently. Like the big one, I feel like, is just like pyramid schemes are bad. Like that's like the big message. I feel like, and then also like from a filmmaker like point of view and stuff, it was really fun, especially like for myself, because I'm in it as well, to have a kind of more sinister thriller, like a big fight scene with all women. I feel like you don't a lot of times get to see that. It's usually guys who are in fight scenes and things like that. So that was something just exciting on a personal level to be able to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, always sticking to that. MLMs are bad for aside from a select few people that seem to be just really crushing with it. But I think also like towards the end when our like hero makes the choice and kind of goes that sinister route, it's like having people like have an understanding of how this could happen and that like it's not, maybe people aren't evil and maybe things aren't this, but situations can come up where you can get trapped in something and they really don't let you out, or like, and that can turn you into someone you never thought you'd be.
Absolutely. It's like zombies too.
Right. Like, how would you act in the apocalypse?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both so much. This was wonderful and fascinating and enlightening and very fun. My final question for you is, what are you working on next? What can we expect from you? Anything you would like to point people towards, plug, anything like that?
Currently we're with the short, we're on the festival circuit. You can find us on Instagram at Bossbabes Film.
Amazing.
And then Ryan and I are writing the feature for Bossbabes right now.
Exciting.
And then we also just wrapped our latest short film called Bunny that stars Ryan, that will be hopefully hitting the first festival circuit next year.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you hit me up for that because we will definitely want to see it for Tallgrass next year.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Thank you.
Well, thank you both so much. And thanks to you all out there for tuning in, for watching the films, and for supporting Tallgrass.